Howdy folks, Little John in the kitchen, getting ready to throw my brew together for the day. I've gone pulled back to a can today. I couldn't really make my mind up on what I wanted to brew today. I haven't got yeast for a lager I wanted to do. I want to do an IPA experiment with a split batch. But I have got a kit coming that I want to actually trial. So I'm leaving the IPA, and I haven't got a lot of real, at the moment, easy drinking beers coming out of winter. I've got a bit of a glut of 6 and 7% beers. I have done some lagers recently, but I didn't do a lot of any of them. I've given a bit away, and I don't have a lot of it left, so it's not going to really carry me through spring and into summer. So I was trying to knock up something a bit lighter and easier to drink, and while I was at it, maybe we can do a bit of a vid on a beer style that a lot of people enjoy, and quite often looking to sort of replicate. So what I'm looking at today is a beer similar to Pacific Ale, a Stone and Wood Pacific Ale. It's not necessarily pushing a clone of that beer, it's just in that sort of style, that easy drinking, light, summery sort of beer that's got some nice bit of fruit flavour in it, and just a little bit of bitterness, and still remains reasonably crisp and refreshing, and without being too high on the alcohol, so you can knock them down pretty easy on a nice warm day. So again, basing off what I had sitting around, so what I've gone with is I've got a can of Cooper's Australian Pale Ale. Now again, as I say, I think when you sort of look around up at the recipe recommendations that a few people are throwing out, they don't use pale ale base, they build up on more of a blonde and stuff, but I think this is going to work really well in the style. So starting with the Australian Pale Ale, as always, pull the kit yeast out. I'm not going to use that. I will be using, probably going to use Nottingham on this one. But we'll get that can into the sink in some hot water and get it softening up. As you always do with your canned brews, just to make them easier to do with, soak them in some hot water in the kitchen sink or in a tub or whatever for 15-20 minutes or so, and let them soften and become a little bit runnier. So what I'm adding to this brew today, bit of a mix, getting a little bit of a mash, bit of typical ferment. So I've got some grain, which I'm going to do with just a mini mash on. I've got the pot over here on the stove, which has now got just a little warmer than I would have liked. I've got 6 litres of water over here. Grain, I've got 1 kilo of Marisota and 700 grams of wheat. Now that Pacific Ale style has got a whack of wheat in it, and again, this is what I'm saying, it's not really a clone because it's probably not as much wheat as you'd ideally have in that style, but there's plenty there to keep some lightness in the body and get that little bit of a tart feeling. And I'm going to steep that in this water at 70 degrees and let it steep for about 30 minutes. As I said, that water's got up to about 80 degrees now. Faffed around a little bit and didn't turn it off, but that's alright. We'll get to that shortly. I'll also be adding this 300 grams of dry malt and 300 grams of dextrose. Now, dextrose is just to help keep the body nice and light, and bringing the alcohol up a little bit. A little bit of malt just to boost up what we've got with the grain and to make sure there's a nice you know, a nice body, a nice nice backbone underneath to back up, and that's it. It's going to be pretty straightforward. That's it. There will be a hop boil. I've left my hops out in the garage, but that's alright. No, I haven't. Just here. I've got some Galaxy. I've got a 50 gram bag of Galaxy. I'm going to use the whole lot of that Galaxy in this brew, but I'm going to boil probably 15 grams of that in this mash once it's done, and we'll get to that, and I'll dry the rest in the fermenter. But we'll discuss it when we get to it. So just for the moment, I'm going to let this water cool down a little bit, and we'll come back. We'll get have a look at getting the grain on, give that half an hour to sit, and we'll come back and we'll start getting this put together. Okay, so our water here is now on 70 degrees, about 72, but that will drop when I add our grain. Now the heat's off. Your grain bag, we just sit that into the pot. Now, because what I'm doing today is using these grains as fermentables, our actual temperature is more important than it would be if we were just doing, say, a 200 or 300 gram steep, just for some flavour. I need to extract fermentable sugars from this grain. And to do that we need to be in the right temperature range. Now that generally is between 60 and 70 degrees. So by starting at around 72, when I add the grains in, the water will cool a little bit. Now just give these a bit of give this a good mix through, make sure everything's nice and wet. Check where we went with temperature just for the heck of it. Now, hopefully this will be close to the 70 degrees. Because I want this to sit between 60 and 70, ideally sort of mid-ish 60s for the half hour. Okay, I don't know if that's going to show up there, it's going to be a bit hard to see, but that's sitting at around around 68 degrees at the moment, so I'm pretty happy with that. We will probably lose 5 or 6 degrees over the next half an hour with this sitting here. Now I've left it on the hot plate, so it's still got a little bit of heat coming under it, but without the actual heat on. So the lid on. As I said, just let that sit now for half an hour, and we'll come back and we'll hit the next step. Okay, so grain's on. It's mashing away. A couple of other things underway while that's happening. And it's probably not a bad idea to crack a beer. And for the sake of some experimentation, crack it into the James Squire Hop Thief number 9. Been a bit slack and I've actually got around to trying this one. In all honesty, I really haven't wanted to bother. I've looked at it a few times and invariably it's just disappointing, but I finally pulled the trigger the other night to grab one, so I'm going to suck on that while I'm getting this going. So as the grains are on, they've been going for about half an hour now. This pot over here is everyone's lunch. That's got enough to do with the brew. I've just got the fermenter out, sprayed it with Star Sand. It's just sitting over on the bench to the side here, draining off, getting ready. So I've already weighed off 20 grams of our Galaxy hops, which smell absolutely divine. So I want 300 grams of dry malt. Whatever dry malt you have on hand. This is malt I bought in bulk from Cheeky Peak. You can use Cooper's or Brigalow or your local home brew shop, doesn't matter, all bloody same, much as much. So 300 grams of that, and the old dextrose. Now, I'm not a big dextrose fan. Certainly don't recommend people use lots of dextrose, but it has its place in most, particularly in canned brews. It does have its place. Canned brews can have a bit of residual sugars which don't ferment, which can leave you with a bit of a sweeter finish. So dextrose doesn't hurt to take that sort of down a notch. I sort of said like up to about 400 grams of brew is fine. So this is sort of pushing that level a little bit, at 300 grams, but the style sort of does dictate that it needs it a little bit, so in it goes. Now, I said you could vary that a little bit if you wanted to. You could go a little bit more malt, a little bit more dextrose. I think in this brew it's going to work nicely from stuff I've done before. This is a new brew for me. I've never done this particular one before. I've done the pale ale with some additions and different hops and pushed it into an American pale ale sort of range, which come out quite well. I have pushed this same kit down the road of a Cooper's pale ale and done it with the recultured yeast out of the pale ale bottle. And it came out very well. Actually, that beer got a highly commended at the New South Wales State Championships a few years back when I entered it. Actually finished 4th in the pale ale section, which is pretty good for a kit beer. So this can turn out a decent beer. So we weigh it out, ready to go. So we're not really losing any time while this grain is mashing up. I had stuff out earlier just for so we could have a bit of a look, but the reality is if you started off with your grain and got it on, by the time it's half an hour over, you've pretty much got everything else out ready to go and sorted. So not far off. So we've got about 9 minutes left to go at the moment. So we'll let that do its thing, and we'll be back soon. Okay, half an hour's done. That's mashed for long enough. I'm just going to pull this bag out and let it drain. Now this can be a little bit messy, as I've seen before. Now I do have my little rack which I use for this. Let a whack of it run out first. I'll just slide the rack underneath. Now if you don't have a rack, you can just pull the bag out and sit into another saucepan. I'm just going to sit there. Alright, so I'll just sit that there, let it drain. While that's draining, I will get the stove back on and get this coming up to a boil. Okay, this grain bag is pretty much drained. What I'm doing now is just running a litre, just hot tap water, just through the grain in the bag, just to rinse out all the sugars that are in there. And so this is we're working as this as a mash. Normal part of a mash is that you sparge, which is rinsing the grain. So this just makes sure that all the sugars that have been converted during that mash are released. And you can see I'm going to squeeze this bag, probably can't see it on there. It's actually showing quite good on this side. There's nice coloured wort coming from there, which would indicate there's flavours and sugars in there. And just do that just a little bit. And that's enough. I'm happy we've got enough out of that now, so just pull that off and put it to the side and just let that come to a boil. Okay, so we've just come to a boil and we're getting this foaming up, which is called your hot break. And you've got to keep an eye on that because it can boil over your pot real easy and it's bloody messy. Doesn't last for long, only takes a couple of minutes and it disappears, so you just give it a bit of a stir as you go. That'll get rid of it. And that's pretty much all gone now. So let that go for 5 minutes and then we'll pop our hops in. Okay, so we've been boiling for 5 minutes. And pop our hops in. So we're going to boil those for 5 minutes, which will just, that's 20 grams of Galaxy. And that 5 minutes will just extract a nice little bit of flavour out of that. Galaxy is fairly strong, so that will extract good flavour and a good whack of aroma. And that's all we're after. We don't want anything, we don't want too much with it. And backing that up with the dry hop will give us the finish that we're after. Okay, so our 5 minute boil is over for the hops. I'll pull them out. We'll drain a little bit. All that goodness out. Throw them in the bucket. Grains. Now quite often you'll see me when I'm doing hop additions with kits, I'll just throw the hops and everything into the fermenter. With this brew I don't want to do that. This Galaxy can get quite what's called grassy, quite strong flavours when it's left exposed for a long time with the wort. So we want to get it out of there. It's done its job, it's imparted the flavour that we want. So what I'm going to do now is add our additional stuff to this. So our malt, our dex. And again, you can add this to the fermenter, but while you've got a nice big pot of boiled with now wort, you might as well take advantage of it. It's far easier to get this stuff in here and dissolve it than it is in the fermenter. So that's our malt now dex in. A bit of a stir. And while we're running on that angle of easy dissolving, we might as well run with our tin as well. So it's been soaking now for close to about 40 minutes now, 45 minutes since we started the mash. So it'll be nice and runny and easier to work with. And again, we just dump that in. Now be careful picking these tins up because they can get bloody hot, depending on how long they've been sitting there. As I said, that's been sitting there for a while now, so the tins and the water is not super hot. So I can, but quite often you'll need to grab that with a tea towel or an oven mitt, because the tin will be too hot to handle. It makes it easy to get that out of there. And just mix that through. And we now have our concentrated beer. So we're ready to go to the fermenter. So here he is. He was sitting there earlier. I said had it. It was sprayed with sanitizer, obviously previously been cleaned. Had him sitting off to the side ready. So ready to go in. Then we just dump this straight in now. Straight in everything. Quick glance to make sure the tap was actually closed. Which as always, good. Make sure you've done that beforehand. You can see there, pot's nice and clean, so everything's come out of there mixed up really easily. And then we can give it a good brush. And then from here it's just a case of topping it up with cool water up to 23 litres. And then our yeast. So we'll get the water in and we'll look at what yeast we're using. Okay, that's our 23 litres. As fresh as we've gone. So just making sure she's all nice and mixed through. She's still a little bit warm, but that's fine. I haven't. Now, doing it this way, adding your mash and having that boiling mash, it's hard to get the temperature down to pitching temp by just using tap water. You know, so you can put bottles of water into the fridge so they're colder and go with those. Or, you know, what I'm going to do with this now, I'll just take this out, I'll just stick this, I'll cover him up, stick it in the ferment fridge. And let it start coming down to 19 degrees. And when it gets closer, I'll depending on where it is, I'll get the yeast organised. But for now, I'll go get this in the fridge and see what temperature we're at. Okay. About to knock up just the yeast starter. Got the brew in the fridge. It was sitting around 28 degrees, so it's coming down at the moment. So I'm going to make up a starter to pitch on that. So I want 10 times water as yeast. So we've got 22 grams of yeast, so about 220 mils of water. Cool boiled water, which is at room temp. That's what I've got. Now room temp here at the moment is 22 degrees. So it's not too far off, and I think by the time this is actually ready to go and pitch, the brew's going to be pretty close to that anyway, so it's going to be pretty close to its first pitch. So, as I said, using Nottingham, 2 packets. As I said, 1 gram, basically 1 gram of yeast per litre of wort in average sort of gravity wort. So all we've got to do is stick that into the water, sprinkle it on top, let it sit, give that 15 minutes, give it a stir, give it another 15, come back, stir again, and at that point I'll pitch it. Okay, 15 minutes in. Let's give that a stir in. I'm starting to get that creamy look that yeast will get. Now making sure this is all sanitised when you're doing this, and we'll get another 15 minutes. Rightio, so I've let this go a bit longer. It's actually been about 25 minutes, and see now it's getting nice and frothy and creamy. Yeah, and that's sort of the sort of thing you're looking for with rehydration. And that's indicating that that yeast is, you know, taken on that water and it's grown and it's getting active and healthy and it's ready to, you know, jump into your beer and just start going crazy. So I'm going to take that out now, pitch that onto that fermenter and get a final reading. Okay, so just pitch the yeast onto that brew. It's sitting at 25.2 degrees or something just at the moment, so just a couple of degrees over our starter, so that's fine, keeping within our that sort of 5-6 degree range. So that'll come down to temp in the next sort of 2 or 3 hours, no problem. So I'm happy with that. And we've got our sample here, and that looks like I'm going to call that 1044. So I'm pretty happy with that. So I expect that to come down somewhere around 1044, around 1011. So I'll give us 33 points. It's about a 4.4. So a mid 4, you know, beer on the keg, or high 4s in the bottle. So I'm very happy with that for just using guesstimates and not really actually, like I said, I didn't have a set gravity in mind. I would have been happy with anything from 1038 up to 10, up around that mark. Certainly didn't want to be above that 1044. I don't want this one pushing into sort of into that 5 range alcohol. I want to keep it a bit lighter, so I'm pretty happy with that. Yeah, no, that's nice. It's light. There's not a heap of sweetness there, so it's not a huge amount of malt going on. Just a touch of that, and the extra touch of the hop. So very happy. So that's it. So as I said, it's in the fridge, set at 19 degrees. Will ferment to do a 2-week profile. Get it in the keg 2 weeks from now. do some bottles, and we'll be doing tasting 5 or 6 weeks from now. So into mid to late October, we'll see how this one's come out and be ready to lead into I said that end of spring and lead into summer. So that's it. Pacific Pale Ale, or thereabouts. If you've got any questions, as always, stick them down the bottom. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, it's down there in the corner, bang on it. You'll get notified whenever something's happening. So anyway, that's me, Little John, for the day. So till I see you again, we're talking beer, drinking beer, or we're brewing beer. Good brewing.